Hello and welcome to your January edition of Essential Cardano360, your monthly roundup of just some of the latest news and developments from across the Cardano ecosystem, brought to you from the team here at Input Output. And a belated Happy New Year to all of you. Here's to an exciting and productive 2025 for the Cardano community. Speaking of which, if you're watching on YouTube or X, do make sure you drop your thoughts below. What are you looking forward to most to seeing in 2025? And while you're at it, please remember to subscribe and hit that bell icon and the thumbs up. It all helps with the algorithm and gets more people seeing this. Now, at the time of filming, we were just one day away from the long-awaited Plomin upgrade, hard forking Cardano into a new era of decentralized decision-making. After SBOs upgraded their nodes, with over 66% of them confirming readiness via a vote, and ICC members giving their unanimous approval, the upgrade was applied to the chain yesterday at 21:44 UTC, bringing delegated representatives, or DREPs, online for the first time. So congratulations one and all. And continuing that theme of community governance, let's kick off this month with member-based organisation Intersect. Jack Briggs, Director of Ecosystem, joins us to share insights into the priorities for the months ahead. Joining Jack, we'll hear from Ryan Williams, who'll provide the latest on governance tooling. Pepe Otegwe updates us on the progress of the Cardano budget. And to round things off, Eystein Magnus Hansen from the Cardano Civics Committee brings the spotlight back to the on-chain ratification of the delegate-approved Constitution, a vital step for decentralised governance.
Hi everyone, Jack here from Intersect, and I hope everyone's 2025 has started off well, and it certainly has for Cardano. So as of January 29th, yesterday, the Plomin upgrade has unlocked the final features of Cardano's on-chain governance, decentralizing the chain even further. I want to do a quick shout out and a big thank you to everyone on the hard fork working group who helped facilitate the process, but more importantly, SBOs, dApps, wallets, exchanges, and everyone downstream that supported the hard fork and the upgrade and making it happen on its first try. And essentially, it is Cardano's first community enacted hard fork. So it's a big pat on the back from everybody who participated and supported the upgrade. So with Cardano now firmly in the hands of the community, the next few weeks are shaping up to be pivotal for the trajectory and future of Cardano. So good news is today I'm joined by Ryan Williams, our Cardano technical lead and also a SIP editor in his spare time, to look at how Cardano's open source governance tooling is shaping up and also what the community can expect with governance actions submitted on and behalf of our members here at Intersect. I'm also joined by Pepe, member of the Budget Committee, who will talk us through the latest developments and progress the committee are making in relation to a budget for Cardano in 2025. And lastly, I'm joined by Eystein Magnus Hansen from the Cardano Civics Committee, who brings back into focus the on-chain ratification of the delegate-approved Constitution, now on-chain for DREPs and the Interim Constitutional Committee to approve. So with that, I'll hand over to Ryan to take us through the governance open source tooling and our governance actions.
Thank you, Jack. So I'll kick off talking about some of the governance actions that we can expect to see coming this year. So as we know, one of the services that we offer here at Intersect to our committees and working groups is technical assistance and covering the deposit required to submit governance actions to chain. We've already seen this from last year happening with the Parameters Committee suggesting submission of protocol parameter update to mainnet. And following this, the hard fork working group suggested the submission of an info action to name the hard fork, as well as the hard fork action itself. What's coming up for the rest of this year? You would have seen today, the new constitution action was submitted to mainnet on behalf of the Civics Committee. This puts the delegate endorsed constitution from the Constitutional Convention on chain for the DREPs and the ICC to consider. The Budget Committee have been very busy preparing their plans for this year. In the last few days of this month and into next month, they'll likely submit a net change limit info action. Following on from this, over the next few months, they're looking to submit multiple info actions around the budget and buckets of funding. This will culminate in the submission of one or more Treasury withdrawal actions over the summer. The third work stream is the election of the Constitutional Committee, which will culminate in an action that will hit mainnet around September, August time to replace the Interim Constitutional Committee with the full Constitutional Committee. Prior to this, there'll have to be an election process. And as part of this, the working group that's being spun up under the Civics Committee is looking at submitting an info action to chain to gauge sentiment around the parameters of what this election could look like. A little update on the governance tools being built via Intersect contracts and grants to our member builders across GovTool and the Constitutional Committee portal. As we look forward to 2025, the Intersect team will continue to support the goals defined by the community via the governance tools working group This includes adding support for new roles such as moderators within the proposal discussion pillar and support for group DREPs and group proposers across GovTool. We're also keen to increase the amount of contributors to GovTool, as well as adding support for open APIs and plugins to allow other builders to build on top of GovTool. We're going to continue to support and improve the live instance of GovTool in the CC portal. Last year, the Lido Nation team was chosen by the working group to add the historical governance outcomes pillar to GovTool. The team has been working hard on this, and this month they added the integration back to the base GovTool repo. This means that we'll be able to test out the governance outcomes pillar across the testnet versions of GovTool in the coming weeks. And as a final call out, how to contribute. If you're more technically minded, please check out the GovTool repo. Feel free to raise issues there, and if you're really keen, raise a pull request. For everyone else, feel free to use the feedback button in the bottom right of GovTool. This sends a issue straight to the GovTool team.
Thank you very much, Ryan. And now we're going to hear from Eystein from the Cardano Civics Committee on all things Constitution. Over to you, Eystein.
Thanks. And now an update from the Civics Committee. So as you may know, we've been through a very long journey going from the interim constitution to a proposal for a new constitution. And this process have lasted since July until December 2024, and with over 1,400 community members participating in 63 workshops from 51 countries and of 6 out of the 7 continents, and those sent 63 delegates and alternates to Argentina and to Kenya, and we also had delegate workshops on top of that, and we ended up with a 95 approval vote for the drafted constitution. And this now has a final step. So when you are watching this, it would have been yesterday. There should have been a definitions document the 29th of January that should have been approved. And pending on that, then today, on the 30th of January, there should likely be a submitted governance action, because it's a requirement in the interim constitution that we submit the governance action for the new constitution before the 31st of January. So at the time you're watching this, then this should have been submitted. The next step then is for the community to vote on this new constitution. So I urge everyone, spread it loud and wide, and make sure that this is thoroughly discussed by the delegated representatives, and make sure that the community really understands this magnificent and quite historic event, and make sure that we give it the due process it deserves. That is my update, so over to you, Pepe.
Hello everyone, I'm Pepe, an elected member of the Budget Committee here at Intersect. Many of you might know me from the Constitutional Convention, which took place last December, where as an alternate from Buenos Aires, I was pleased to meet a lot of you in person for the first time, welcoming you all at the same time to our lovely city. Over the last few months, we've been facilitating a 2025 budget process for Cardano through Intersect. We held a consultation period, which thus far has encompassed over 15 open calls and surveyed over 200 community members, who have highlighted core infrastructure, research, and scaling solutions, like Ouroboros Leios, as top funding priorities. Respondents have also favored a balanced reserve strategy, maintaining fiscal stability and discipline, while allowing room for innovation. From our open calls, several key takeaways have emerged. Multiple track-specific budgets should be presented for the community to vote on, rather than one big proposal. The net change limit should not exceed Treasury income for the same period. For instance, in 2025, the Treasury is projected to grow by approximately 350 million ADA. A budget proposal submitted on behalf of members and committees at Intersect should not exceed this amount. Furthermore, the net change limit should leave ample headroom for other budgets to be submitted on-chain. Radical transparency must be ensured in how funds are allocated, including on-chain auditing and the deployment of smart contracts wherever beneficial. What happens to any unspent or surplus ADA that remains at the end of a budget period, ensuring adherence to the Constitution, should be clearly defined. In the coming weeks, the Budget Committee will share its proposal for Cardano's net change limit with budget proposals for the community to consider and provide feedback. In addition to this, there is ample information in the Intersect website and knowledge base. Thank you very much.
And that's it for January here at Intersect. There's obviously a lot more going under the hood. So if you want to find out more and contribute, join Intersect today or head over to intersectmbo.org to find out more.
So thanks again to Jack, Ryan, Pepe and Eystein for those updates. Now, the approval of the Cardano Constitution in December 2024 to go forward to on-chain ratification marked a significant milestone, celebrating all that the Cardano community has achieved over the past 7 years. Driven by the passion and commitment of a global community with delegates from dozens of countries across nearly every continent, the Constitution stands as a testament to the power of collaboration. It sets a standard for what's possible and places Cardano on an exciting path for the future. But the journey is far from over. The convention process was just the beginning. With the Constitution due to be submitted on-chain today, it's over to the entire Cardano community for approval through the on-chain governance process. Here's Michael Madoff to walk us through what to expect in the weeks and months ahead as this crucial next chapter unfolds.
Hi, I'm Michael Madoff. I'm the Group Product Manager for Governance at IOG, and I started the Voltaire program to deliver the final phase of the initial Cardano roadmap. There are 3 pillars needed to make the Voltaire governance system work in harmony. Institutions and democratic consent have already matured significantly over the past year, and the third and final pillar of Voltaire, constitutional representation, is nearing the finish line. In December, the Cardano Civics Committee convened 120 plus delegates and alternates from over 50 countries for 4 days of rigorous debate and discussion across Nairobi and Buenos Aires. Delegates debated highly technical and complex legal issues in front of a live stream audience in the tens of thousands. What emerged is a constitution that will lay the foundation for a sustainable, community-driven future for Cardano. It was also a democratic process in action that saw the elected delegates from the Global Workshop series emerge as a new generation of leaders for Cardano. We got to see firsthand how our world is more connected than ever. We experienced Cardano as a global community through creativity, passion, and joy as we integrated new cultures, ideas, and frameworks for how to govern, interact, exchange value, and beyond. In the end, the delegates voted using the Clarity voting tool and achieved an astounding 95% approval to put forward the Constitution draft for on-chain governance ratification. I want to thank all the convention organizers for their hard work on this defining event for the Cardano community, as well as our distinguished guests, and of course the delegates and alternates themselves. And a special shout out to the whole contingent who joined me in Nairobi and burned the midnight oil to get us across the finish line. The convention process was only the beginning. Now the Constitution draft from our convention delegates is going out to the entire Cardano community for approval through the on-chain governance process. So what is next on the horizon for Cardano governance in 2025? Decentralized governance has always been the promise of Cardano, and December's Constitutional Convention has strengthened that reality. Designed to be a self-sustaining ecosystem, Cardano's future revolves around the will of the people. So as a participant of this community, you have a responsibility to act as a responsible steward, to shepherd in a new era of governance and bring that original vision to a new generation. Following the approval of the Plum hard fork, DREP voting is activated for all types of governance actions. This is the most critical time for you as an ADA holder to delegate to a DREP, because these formative early stages are when decisions are being made that will shape the future of Cardano for years to come. The easiest way is to go to gov.tools and connect your wallet to choose from a list of DREPs that share your beliefs and delegate. The approval of the Constitution at the December Constitutional Convention was just the starting point, and the next major governance action is the ratification of this document on-chain. The Constitution represents a path forward to galvanize the Cardano community, united in a set of shared beliefs and principles. Given the centrality of this Constitution document, the threshold for approval by DREPs is very high at 75% of voting stake. In the Civics Committee working on the Constitution, we believe in enacting lasting change, in making an impact, but we recognize that we can't do that all ourselves. It is going to still take more hard work to reach the ratification. The Cardano community has rallied behind governance movements unlike any other blockchain ecosystem to date, and together we're shaping the future Ken will look like for our industry. Governance isn't a burden, it is a gift. Following the Constitution, the next major governance push will be around the budget. By incorporating a budget process into Cardano's governance framework, this community has the potential to see the direct value of programs funded. Together, a budget and a budget process as a whole has the power to bring projects to life, to champion and market the incredible value the Cardano network can provide to organizations, developers, and enthusiasts alike from within and outside the ecosystem. But that all starts and stops with the community's support of a future budget. Budget approval is a key component of governance. It is a reflection of how this community envisions Cardano's growth and how resources are managed accordingly. All of this depends on the guidance and safeguards defined in the Cardano Constitution itself. So go to gov.tools or delegate directly through your wallet to make your voice heard today. Thank you.
So thank you, Michael, for that. Now, behind every major milestone is a story, and the creation of the Cardano Constitution is no different. To bring you closer to our shared journey, we produced a documentary film offering a unique behind-the-scenes look at what happened in Nairobi and Buenos Aires, where the Cardano community came together to shape the future of governance. In it, you'll hear from some of the people behind the process and see how the Constitutional Convention became a space for diverse opinions, cultures, and perspectives to converge, all united by a shared vision for a new form of governance. This wasn't just about drafting a document, it was about reimagining what governance can look like when we truly listen to each other, embrace differences, and learn from one another. At its heart, this is a documentary which celebrates fellowship of people coming together to make something extraordinary. Here's a preview.
Hola.
Thank you for realizing the dream that I laid on the table in my TED Talk in 2014 when I talked about all the magical things that blockchain can do. Not only have you proven it can do it, you've proven to the entire world that it can do it. And the next part means that we actually get a chance to change the rest of the world. So thank you all.
How do you vote? I'm Quang, representative for more than 100 people in Vietnam, and I vote yes.
I'm Inji Martine, and I voted yes.
We voted yes.
Yes.
From Italy, and I voted yes.
Yes.
I voted yes.
I voted yes!
All right.
But it's closed with a 95% success rate. That's officially. Mercy.
I need to say one thing. We passed a constitution! Okay, I got that out of my system.
So keep an eye out for the full documentary when it drops next month. As the blockchain space continues to evolve, one of the key challenges is the blockchain trilemma, the delicate balance between scalability, security, and decentralization. To address this, the motivation behind Ouroboros Leios, a new variant in the Ouroboros family, aims to significantly increase throughput while maintaining or even enhancing the robust security properties that Cardano is so well known for. Engineered to handle an exceptionally high volume of transactions, Ouroboros Leios is designed to push the boundaries of the network, approaching its maximum capacity within the constraints of the existing architecture. We sat down with Nicolas Biri, Brian Bush, and William Wolff to delve deeper into how this new protocol aims to tackle the trilemma and what it means for Cardano's future scalability.
Hello everyone, and today we're joined by Nicolas, William and Brian from the Ouroboros Leios team. So let's start with you, Nicolas. Give everybody a bit of an introduction as to what you've been doing.
I'm the director of software architecture at IOG, which means that I'm leading the innovation project within IOG, and that's why I'm part of the Leios initiative, along with a few other projects within IO.
And William, tell us a bit about yourself as well.
I'm one of the architects working on the Leios protocol. There's quite a number of people involved that I help to coordinate, and I see myself as like the glue in between them, helping them to improve the protocol and kind of find consensus.
Fantastic. And Brian?
I'm a prototyping engineer working on the Leios team with Will, and I've been working on it since last summer, previously on the Paris team, and those are both parts of the Cardano scaling initiative.
So Brian, let's start with you. Why did the Ouroboros Leios protocol come about?
It really does come about from scaling, and this aspect of scaling is throughput. So it means getting more transactions on the network. And the idea is that the Nakamoto Prouse protocol does have limited scaling capabilities at the expense of being very, very safe. You can only produce blocks at a certain rate, and you can only have blocks of a certain limited size. So with Leios, what we wanted to do is have more blocks, more transactions, but still have all the safety characteristics of Nakamoto consensus.
And you've touched on it a little bit there, Brian. How does the protocol actually work?
So what we do is we introduce two more types of blocks in addition to the traditional Prouse blocks. One is the input blocks, and these contain transactions, and these might occur at quite a high rate. So every couple seconds or even faster, you'd have input blocks with lots of transactions. Those are bundled together by reference to something called an endorser block, and then the nodes vote on those blocks to make sure everything's secure and verified, and there's a reference put on the browse block. So it's kind of a hierarchy or a level of indirection of funneling in more transactions that are provably included on the blockchain.
And turning to you, Nicola, what will this mean for Cardano in the future?
Well, it highly depends on the outcome of the assessment that we are doing right now. But if everything goes well, we will have the fastest Nakamoto-style consensus in the blockchain industry and one of the fastest blockchain in the whole industry, Nakamoto and all the blockchain included. So it means that for people developing application on Cardano, the transaction throughput won't be an issue that they will have to consider.
Wonderful. And Will, there's obviously been a lot of work that's gone into Leios, but how will the development team assess the feasibility and success of the protocol going forward?
In terms of feasibility, we had actually some great work being done from research side of things. So they've published, I think, 2 papers in the last 2 years about the Leios protocol. And on the technical side, we've started parallel work streams to simulate the protocol. We have an initiative that is Rust-based and another one that is Haskell-based. And the idea here is to kind of have them keep each other in check to some degree. On top of it, we also have a work stream that focuses on the theoretical model, which internally we refer to the delta Q approach. And then lastly, not to forget with the formalization of the protocol, we have an entire team that just cares about how to formalize the paper and get rid of any ambiguity, any natural language, ambiguous terms, essentially. Yeah, so much for the technical side of things. There's also general questions where we try to, things like finding the boundaries of the Leios protocol through running different simulations with different configurations, finding physical limits. Those are fairly well understood, but we still have to identify bottlenecks and edge cases. In regards to economical limits, we're trying to come up with a good explanation of the trade-off between the running cost of a new Leios node compared to increasing the number of transactions per second. And then there's also other questions that we kind of have to refer to research maybe or internally within a team. Like for instance, how do we handle voting at scale? Like right now, we have observed some sort of a burstiness during the voting stage of the protocol, and there's ways we can mitigate that or maybe smooth it out at some point. But these are all things that we'll have to answer in the near future. And last but not least, we also, in terms of communication, we actually want to disclose our progress on a periodic basis, which we do using our monthly public meeting updates. Anyone is welcome to join, raise questions, get in touch with the team, know who's working on it. So we really try to be as transparent as possible here.
And turning back to you, Nicola, this represents another example of collaboration between teams within the Cardano ecosystem. Explain how the development of Ouroboros Leios has helped shape research and development within Cardano.
Leios is the achievement in terms of process of what we have started with Peras at the beginning of last year. The idea is to build in the open and to allow people to see what we are doing to refine and validate the feasibility of the research result done by our research team. So what we are doing here is that we are doing this assessment and provide feedback to the community as much as we can, engage with them to hear their feedback, to see where we need to stress our investigation, what makes a difference for them. And basically, we are building this together.
Wonderful. And speaking of building this together, the development of Leios has involved quite a large team. Tell us about some of the collaborators on the project.
Well, we can start with Welltype. It's a long partner of IOG. They worked with us on almost all the Ouroboros flavor protocol. And Duncan, who is part of Welltype, was also the initiator of Leios with the idea of the input endorsers, which was a CIP published, I think, 2 years ago now. So it was natural for us to reach out to them and to work together on this one. We also collaborate with Sunday Labs. It's our first collaboration with Sunday. They are well known in the Cardano ecosystem for Sunday Swap, and they are doing great work with the network simulation of Leios. And we are also working with Roland Kuhn, who is an external contributor. We have a lot of expertise in distributed system, and who brings his expertise in distributed system and simulation as a whole.
Great stuff. So, Will, tell us about the next steps for the development of the Ouroboros Leios protocol.
Sure. So mainly we care a lot about consistency for different work streams, which is why we're running basically different teams that keep each other in check. And that is mainly for technical assurance to some degree, like testing out the protocol, its boundaries, how the system essentially behaves in an adversarial environment, and defining like attack models or attack vectors, essentially, things like that. And overall, we're at a very good place right now, I would say. Like the simulations are maturing. We are able to simulate the protocol quite well in different network configurations, but in the near future, we will have to basically test out the space of different configurations for running the protocol. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think there's a lot to learn from running different configurations, and then we will hopefully come up with numbers that we can present to the community in terms of what it means to run a Leios node, what it will cost to get a certain number of throughput.
And finally, Nicola, for the people that want to get in touch with the Leios team, how can they do so?
Well, they can visit the Leios website to see what's happening within the team. They can also reach out to us during the monthly. Will talked about it. It's a very nice way to follow what happened during a week and to ask questions if you have any question. The good thing with the monthly is that starting this year, we will start to live stream them on YouTube as well, which might be a very nice way to introduce yourself to the protocol. And besides that, the usual means of communication are very welcome as well. You can reach out to us on Discord or on Twitter. And if you want to, you can still experiment with the different simulation by going to the GitHub repository of the project.
So thanks very much to Nicolas, Brian and William for that. And if you want to stay up to date on the progress of Leios, you can follow the links below to read the weekly updates and join the monthly calls. The Cardano ecosystem is continuously evolving and growing, and of course Essential Cardano360 wouldn't be complete without showcasing just some of the projects being built on Cardano. Let's dive in and meet another of the innovators behind these exciting developments. With Bitcoin and Cardano increasingly finding themselves in the same sentence, Rich met the team from Fluid Tokens.
Matteo, Raul, great to have you on the show. So let's start with you, Raul. Tell us a bit about yourself and your background.
Sure. So first of all, my background, I am an electronic engineer. So I'm not natively a software developer or a blockchain developer. However, during my studies and during my experiments, I met Matteo, who introduced me to blockchain. And I started to study a little bit, and the fact that I was already an engineer helped me to understand better the concepts, and here we are, years in the blockchain.
Wonderful. And Matteo?
Right, yes, I'm a software developer. I've been a software developer for actually almost 20 years. DevOps, I then moved in 2017, always being a DevOps at the beginning, on the blockchain environment, particularly on Ethereum, and then started actually writing contracts, smart contracts on Ethereum. And in 2019, I actually started developing from there on always on Cardano, pushed by my university professor that were very interested into the Cardano architecture and technology. So from there, I took my career in a sense. I changed the direction of the career and completely dedicated myself to Cardano and the community.
So, Matteo, let's talk about the beginnings of Fluid Tokens. Take us back to when it all started.
Fluid Tokens started as an idea during the NFTs boom on Cardano. A lot of value was getting locked into the NFTs. A lot of people were buying NFTs and trading them. But at one point, they didn't really have any use case except some very specific ones. So they had a lot of value. They paid a lot of money for those NFTs. So we say, why don't we allow people to actually borrow additional liquidity, locking as collateral their NFTs and their tokens? And this is how Free Tokens actually started, as a need from the community, where project actually liked it a lot because it was giving more utility to the NFTs by default. And from there on, we start just expanding following the community feedback. So we started creating new protocols, improving the lending, etc.
Wonderful. So let's talk about the technology. Raul, tell us a bit about how Fluid Tokens works.
At Fluid, we like to call ourselves the UTXO powerhouse, meaning that we develop services on the blockchain building on UTXO chains. So we built on Bitcoin and Cardano, but what are the services that we are providing? Mainly, we provide DeFi opportunity to users, lending opportunity, as Matteo was saying, but it's not just that. It's even more. We allow renting of NFTs, unlocking utility inside the NFT to other users, but not just that. At Cardano right now, we are using smart contracts to allow users to lend and borrow staking delegation. In this way, they can increase the staking participation for a staking pool, but not just that. They can even leverage and use this on Catalyst or any voting that is around. And this brings a new opportunity for users and also for projects that would like to participate even more in the governance.
And Raul, why do you think Cardano specifically is the ideal platform for what you're trying to build?
So when it comes to the decision about in which blockchain build on, it's very easy to make following the hype, maybe choosing a blockchain because everyone is talking about it. However, when it comes to build a organic project and a reliable one, you have to ask yourself, is this blockchain going to be around in the next 2-3 years? And what are the values behind this blockchain? And when we were studying Cardano, we found out a blockchain that was aligned with Bitcoin values and the original idea, therefore decentralization, UTXO system, something that wanted to build a governance completely on-chain. So we saw an opportunity on Cardano Vision, and we saw also that the market was still early on Cardano, and we could be one of the first movers to build on top of that. And I think that this is a decision that we will never regret because so far it's been paying off a lot.
Matteo, what do you think are some of the opportunities that Fluid Tokens could potentially open up in the future?
Right, Fluid Tokens is working on many different aspects of the blockchain world, and the most obvious one is the DeFi. So the lending and all the services we are creating have the objective to actually, at one point, connect the real world with the blockchain world and create transparency in processes, for example, lending of specific use cases in companies, etc., and creating decentralization and transparency to those processes so user can leverage the blockchain and the accountability from the blockchain in the real world. And another important aspect that we are working on is the user experience. What we are going to release Aquarium in a few weeks, and we are trying to abstract the complexity of blockchain for the average user while maintaining the safety and this permissionless approach. So, for example, with Aquarium, we are trying to hide, what we are going to do is hide transaction fees. So people can pay the transaction fees with different tokens, or the dApps can sponsor the transaction fees for the user, so the user doesn't even have to hold any ADA in their wallets, which is super important. And then the last important aspect that Fluid Tokens is working on is the unification of the Bitcoin ecosystem and the Cardano ecosystem, where they are very similar in the architecture, and we have been building for 1 year on both. We strongly believe that the liquidity of Bitcoin can be enhanced by the Cardano DeFi, and the Cardano DeFi, of course, can be enhanced by the liquidity of Bitcoin itself. So definitely it's important to allow a user experience that is simple, but at the same time allows Bitcoin user to use the DeFi and then come back to Bitcoin without compromising the safety, right?
Great stuff, Matteo. So let's change track a bit. I'm always really struck by the reasons why people build what they build, and I'm really interested to hear more about what drives you and the rest of the team working at Fluid Tokens.
Well, this is a very, very important question because it's basically our mission and why we spend our hours and days and weekends working on fluid tokens, but in general on the blockchain world. And the reason is actually very simple. So the financial opportunities must be fair for everybody in the whole world. And even in the in the richest countries, sometimes you are not the best profile for doing some financial operation that may change your life with, for example, with the banks. So maybe you're not in their risk profile, and it would be difficult for you to get very good, for example, a loan with good parameters, so with a good interest rate, without breaking completely your finances. So it's DeFi has to be a parallel world, interconnected with the real world, of course, but a parallel world to the banks, where removes the power, the excessive power of those entities, the banks. So because when you have a competitor that offer better interest rate, better parameters on a loan, for example, right? The bank has to adapt, has to be, fair for the first time as well. Otherwise, the person will say, okay, don't go with the banks. I will just ask a loan on fluid tokens, for example. And then I will have a better interest rate, probably a better period, a better way to repay my installments, right? So it's super important to change the distribution of power about the financial world, basically. And we do, all the DeFi does it, right? But what you want to do is to have DeFi in a very decentralized and permissionless environment. So you have to choose the blockchain that is actually follows those rules and follows those principles, because otherwise you're creating another bank. And it is not nice. At this point, just stay with the traditional banks, which are probably more, safer. There is more help for the user, etc. But if you want an alternative that is fair and give access to finance to countries that have more difficulties, or to people that are not in the correct risk profile of the banks, definitely DeFi should be the road to take, right? It's just giving back to the users the actual opportunity they could have instead of what the banks decide.
Excellent. So let's talk about the development process of fluid tokens. Raul, tell us a bit about the challenges that you had to overcome as part of the initial development.
It's interesting because when we started to build on top of Cardano Fluid, the most important challenge that we faced was building on top of Cardano. The documentation was still early, and it was hard to debug and testing and so on. However, in 2025, it's the best moment because there are so many libraries, and building on Cardano has never been so easy. However, now the challenge is different. It's not anymore difficult to build on top of Cardano. The new challenge is, where are the developers? It's really hard to find them or teaching them how to build on top of Cardano. Sometimes you find devs, but they are not really passionate about blockchain, or they are not that much interested into it. So it's hard to find new developers, and the best way that we are now using to solve this issue is looking for people that are really looking forward, innovate, or find and study something new, something that nobody has done before, and people that are actually willing to bring something new to this world.
So it's a very momentous time in the history of Cardano at the moment, with the Constitutional Convention back in December 2024. What do you think this will mean for people building on Cardano in the future?
Right, it's super important for the blockchain world as a general, because it's one of the very first examples, and probably the biggest, it is the biggest one of on-chain governance. And it's necessary for any blockchain at one point, because even if your blockchain is super fast and maybe even decentralized, it doesn't matter if the governance or the future of that blockchain can be decided by very few actors that they can be malicious, or even they can be influenced by governments or external entities. So it becomes super important to have governance on the chain, where the people that actually hold, in this case ADA, shape the future of the blockchain itself and keep the blockchain safe and correct, fair for everybody. And Fluid Tokens is very proud of being community-centered. So we always hear the feedback of the community and develop based on that. So it's very probable that every time the community takes a certain decision following the constitution that provides guidelines for the governance, we are aligned with the community itself. We will very rarely be against the community of Cardano because we share the same values, we share the same objective on the chain. So definitely their choice will be probably the best one, and that we also share the same choice as well, right? We are aligned on that.
How do you think on-chain governance for Cardano will open up the Cardano ecosystem to new projects going forward?
Yeah, so governance clarity definitely give another layer of assurance to projects, to organizations that want to build on Cardano, right? So if the objective of blockchain is to be permissionless and transparent and non-censorable, then censorship resistance, basically. So the organization will look into those blockchains that actually have these properties, and Cardano being one of the first with the governance on chain, that means that they have an additional element to choose Cardano instead of another blockchain for this. And it's super important because when you are a normal person, you probably don't care really much. You could even be here only for the gains, right? For the yield or for the opportunities of investments. But when you are a government or a big corporation or an entity that has to decide which blockchain to use for the next 10, 20 years, so where to put their information or their activity or whatever, then of course having a system that is actually decentralized on all aspects is super important, and governance is one of those aspects.
So Matteo, let's talk about the future. What can we expect to see from Fluid Tokens over the next few months?
As I was anticipating in the previous question, actually, we are going to release in a few days, actually, Aquarium, which is the bubble fees for sponsoring transactions on Cardano in a decentralized way. But we're also going to release a new lending protocol that is particularly modular. So it basically users will have a lot of options to find the best opportunity as a borrower or as a lender. And even more, this protocol being modular basically adapts to all the use cases that can be more specific. So for example, attached to real world use cases. So companies that, for example, create loans for cars, for car payments, etc., they can use the protocol with particular parameters and still have it there already on the chain and safe, audited. So definitely this is super important, and we are at the same time we are also building on Bitcoin more sophisticated protocols that maintain the permissionless approach. So on Bitcoin there are a lot of custodial services where you can do a lot of, say, financial operations, but you have to trust a certain party. What we are doing on Bitcoin is instead keeping the permissionless approach that, Cardano is very strong about it, and build more and more protocols, so lending, staking, and even a DEX. So it's getting more complicated, but at the same time, the user on Bitcoin as well will be able to use DeFi with the speed and the scalability of Bitcoin, of course. This is why Cardano is also needed.
No, very exciting times indeed. And in terms of people that might want to reach out to Fluid Tokens, how can they do so?
They can find us on X at our handle Fluid Tokens. We read our DM, so they can feel free to send us a message. If they would like to schedule a call, we will do it. They can find on Discord, and opening a ticket, we read each of them, but in an easy and more professional way is even fluidtokens@gmail.com. Me and Matteo read personally each email, so we will come back to you.
So thanks, Rich, for that. And a shout out to Matteo and Raul for joining us. Now, be sure to follow the Fluid Tokens team on X. You can grab the links below. Well, that's nearly it for this month. But before we go, a few other things to bring to your attention. This past weekend saw Cardano head to Vegas, or more precisely Hydra Doom. What began at Rare Evo 2024, Hydra Doom has become the catalyst for newcomers to recognise what Cardano is capable of. And following its success last summer, Charles announced the Hydra Doom tournament and the countdown to 1 million TPS on Cardano. Of course, during the global gaming qualifier, Hydra reached that unprecedented 1 million TPS, and on a global scale, marking a significant leap in blockchain scalability. This month, though, the teams descended on Las Vegas for the finals, which took place on January the 24th. So congratulations to the winners and to everybody who helped make this moment happen. And if you're looking for more on what this means for Cardano and the wider industry, check out a recent article in Hacker Noon. You can find out the link below. On the more technical side of things, Clément Escoffier recently hosted a seminar exploring the process of transforming a large monolithic application into a more agile microservices architecture. As things scale, monolithic applications can limit flexibility and hinder the ability to evolve a tech stack. Microservices, on the other hand, promise greater agility and scalability, but they come with their own set of benefits and challenges. So check out the link below if you're curious about that. And of course, don't forget to check out some of the recent blog content on the IO website, including 6 reasons why EUTXO wins. From predictable transactions, costs and resource usage to scalability, security and flexibility, you can find out more via the link below. Plus, you can also read a fresh update on the work that the IO team is doing to advance decentralized identities through the open source Identus project. If you're looking for more content from across the ecosystem, look to X, YouTube and other channels listed below, where you can see just some of the latest content from the content creators putting Cardano on the map. So thanks for joining us as we kick off an exciting new year. But don't forget to subscribe to the Essential Cardano newsletter so you can stay up to date on just some of the latest happenings within the ecosystem. That's it for now, but there's going to be a lot happening in 2025. So make sure you hit that bell icon so you can be the first to know when new content drops from IO, including the Constitutional Convention documentary. Thanks very much for joining, and we'll see you in February.